Is our purpose to awaken in the human experience to the fact that we're connected to Source, or is a purpose here to play with that we are Source?
What do you think is the distinction? Because awakening to the fact that you are Source is necessary before you play with Source.
Yes. I guess it's more of a, what is the meaning of life kind of a type of question.
The meaning of life is, I was alive before I came, and I wanted to come into this body because I knew that I would have more vivid, tangible, tactile experience with life. To be physically focused with all of its manifestational evidence is really the leading edge. It's the best.
Got it.
This is where all creation is. So to be in human form, and as you said, good words, consciously, deliberately aligned with that broader part, so that I'm constantly and deliberately tuning myself to that, so that the whole of me, or all that is available to me, which is more than we can even express, can flow through me in any point in time, so that my moments in this body, my focused moments, are rich and full and meaningful and incredibly satisfying. To be in a physical body in concert with Source energy. So sometimes you're not in concert with Source energy because you're exploring contrast, and out of that you are more defining about what you want. But then when you come back into concert with Source energy and allow yourself to experience what you have defined, that's just as rich as it gets. Esther's been asking some serious questions, sort of like what you were posing here. She is asking us, Abraham, do we really need to continue to write books and hold seminars and have conversations? Or aren't people just going to figure it out as they go along? And we say, certainly there is the potential of figuring it out as you go along, once you understand that your emotions are the key. But until you understand that emotions are the key, until you get that you're vibrational and that your emotions are your indicator of that, then you don't have any guidance that is consistent enough that you can really know what you're doing.
Emotions and feelings are the same thing in your words?
Close enough. The emotions, the way you feel, emotions, are your indicator between the vibration of your thought in this moment and the thought of that broader part of you that knows.
So if you're in a moment, you're in a situation, let's say you're part of a program, or you're taking this seminar or whatever, and you're in resistance to it, or anything about it. Let's say it challenges your religious beliefs or whatever we would make up about it. How do we know what's the difference between the emotion of that and the feeling of that?
But we would not try to make any distinction between the two. Again, you have to start with the premise that you're vibrational. And so that an emotion is a literal physical translation of conflicted vibration.
Right.
It's introducing resistance into a vibration. So, for example, when you're feeling elation, there's no contradictory thought within you.
Right.
When you're angry, there's a contradictory thought. Contradictory meaning what the Source within you thinks about this right now and what you're thinking about this right now aren't blending. But you have the free will to introduce it into the equation, so you get the benefit of feeling how your thought merges with the thought that you have really come to as the evolving, expanding, eternal being that you are. So the true meaning of life is expansion, really. The true result of life is expansion. We've said for quite a while that the basis is freedom, because you're so free you can choose bondage. And the purpose of it has to be joy, because in seeking joy, then you're seeking alignment. And the result of that is outrageously delicious expansion, you say.
Can you be confused between your emotions and your feelings, like you're in a situation where, like, your belief system or your fears are holding you back?
If you don't isolate them and examine them in a sort of steady way, you can. Because as you move from thought to thought, your feelings shift.
Right.
And so the best way to sort of subdue that confusion that we've noticed, that our human friends have discovered, is when you're feeling an emotion, especially the strong ones, if you'll stop in the middle of it and just say simply, let's say you're feeling a strong, positive emotion. If you'll stop in the middle of it and say, we have agreement here. My opinion and the opinion of Source about this right here is same. When you have strong negative emotion, stop and say, we have a disagreement. My opinion and the opinion of Source are not the same. Who I have really come to and who I'm allowing myself to be right now are not the same. So it's interesting because that means that all agreements or disagreements are between you and you. They seem like they're about what that person wants or about what that person's doing, but they're just introducing a concept that you are having a reaction to.
Right.
And the reaction that most are having to what most are saying is, I'm not free to choose, and that's not true. But once you start exercising your freedom to choose, and you watch the powerful law of attraction bring you what you choose, and bring you what you choose, and bring you what you choose, and bring you what you choose, you begin to feel invincible. Not selfishly invincible, as if you are depriving others of what they want, but invincible in the sense that you understand your true point of attraction and the power of it. And the power of your point of attraction lies in the power of your ability to focus on what you want. And the power of your ability to focus upon what you want lies in your ability to feel the difference between what you want and what you don't want. In other words, you want love. You want love.
I do.
You want love. So when you think about focusing on someone and loving them, you want that love. When you focus on losing them, or you focus on them not staying, or you focus on them being distracted or not loving you back, now you're focused in a way that the Source within you is never focused. And we can see how it could be confusing, but we promise you, once you get a handle on your emotions, you'll never be confused again. You won't be confused about what you're doing, and you won't be confused about what anybody else is doing. When you see somebody freaking out, you just know they're not in alignment with who they are, and they might even be justified in not being in alignment. This sweet woman that sat here and allowed us to play with her, we actually put our hand right over her mouth. In other words, how extreme is that? But we were wanting to make the point that she cannot continue to speak in opposition to what she wants and feel good.
So this is the contradiction, like when you say the want, I want something, which is to me as I hear the inference of lack. I want that, therefore I'm not that.
That's semantics, and we understand that, and the word desire might be a better word applied to you. But the reason that we don't mind the word want is because we all will continue to be wanting.
Right.
There will always be more for us to move toward. And as you relax into that understanding, because it's the premise of all expansion, then it's good.
Yeah. So create your vision of what you want, desire, and then sit in it as if you were already it, or the experiences or what you believe it will feel like.
Well said. Exactly right. But
so even though I'm not in a relationship, to be in a relationship in my mind with the person or how I would have it to be or how I have her to be.
This is something that we would give to you that's a little different from that. Certainly that works. And if you're really close to knowing what you want and feeling pretty good about it, then that just accentuates. In other words, the more specific you get, the faster the energy moves. So if you're feeling pretty good, being more specific helps you. But if you're not feeling good, being more specific hurts you.
Got it.
Because the momentum is already there.
Got it.
But there's another piece to this. In other words, what you're talking about is visualization. And we think visualization is a wonderful thing. And we think it's better to visualize what you want than observe the absence of it, certainly. But it's easier said than done.
Yes.
And so the end run that we would make around that is not trying so hard to make your mind focus it into being, as just care about how you feel and observe the things that make you feel good that are in your experience now. It's a softer, easier way to go about it. This is a law-based explanation that is missed by almost everybody. That when you insert it back into the conversation, it makes everything that you've been hearing here, especially today, make sense. And without it, none of it makes sense.
Okay.
There are 3 steps to this creative process. The first step is ask.
Ask.
Well, you can't help but ask because life just causes you to ask. The second step is not even your step. The second step is the source within you step. It's the law of attraction step. It's the cooperative components gathered step. It's given. In the moment that you ask, it's lined up for you. But the third step is you've got to find somehow, some way to be a vibrational match to what you're asking for. So when you soften yourself into that, then what you've been asking for comes. Well, when someone says, well, I must sit and visualize, that's as if they don't understand that they've put everything they want piece by piece by piece into the vortex.
Okay.
In other words, you put children in there and you don't even know it. You put children in your vortex and you don't even know it. They're in there and you don't know it. And the reason you don't know it is because having someone to focus upon and love, children. Having someone to care about all the time, children. Having someone who's looking to you for the example of well-being, children. Having someone to add punctuation to the delicious relationship that you have with another, children. In other words, you have that in your vortex. But you can't see it because the vibration that you've got going on based upon some experience that you have lived is holding you in a place where that part cannot flow into your experience in a comfortable way. And even when it looks like it's going to, you feel the discord of it. Did that make a little bit of sense?
A little bit.
We're going to back up and we're going to...
Well, I'm clear that I'm not understanding it. I mean, I feel like it's whatever you're saying to me is landing somewhere deep inside me, but the words I'm not...
We're going to get there because you're right on the brink of it. So you've been putting things incrementally, and by that we mean all of your life and even before you came into this body, into your vortex. So here's this vibrational reality that exists that you want to manifest. You just can't explain all the details of it. You can't explain the how and the where and the who. You can't explain the details of it, but the components of it are all there and you want it. And the source within you knows that you want it. So what we want you to understand is that if you can hold yourself in a more nice to you attitude, in a more I'm a good person attitude, in a more I'm on the right track attitude, in a more worthy feeling attitude, if you can lighten up on yourself, ease up on the demands that you're making on yourself and not try so hard to make everything just the way you think it should be. And trust that you've put it in there and it's been spun into a really good configuration that's going to please you. And then your singular intention is to relax and allow the revelation of that to surprise and delight you. Now you're really on the path for a delicious, wonderful life. So what are the components? You did choose. You visualized it into being. You more than visualized it into being. You banged it into being. In other words, you hammered it out of life. You defined what you want and you defined it in lots of different experiences with lots of different exposure to lots of different circumstances and people. In other words, you carved out a really magnificent life experience for yourself that you are depriving yourself of, all of you are, because none of you are living up to the expectation that the source within you has about what's in your vortex. You're all depriving yourself of so much that could be there because you're not willing to relax in an attitude of I'm goodness and let what's in there flow into your experience. And that's why so many teachers are teaching you to meditate or to count your blessings or even to pray with an attitude of love. It really is about it's about chilling. It's about acceptance. It's about all the things that you've been hearing, but we're wanting to put it into a law-based understanding so that you can understand when you're moving toward it and when you're moving away from it. Kate and Luke played a game with Jerry and Esther when the kids were very little, a hot and cold game where they'd hide something and then Jerry and Esther were to find it just by saying, it's hot, you're getting hotter, you're getting hotter, you're getting hotter. And every single time they would lead them to the button, every single time. Because they knew where it was. And they were giving Jerry and Esther hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. There was no possibility that they weren't going to find it. There was no possibility that they weren't going to find it. And the same is true of every one of you. There's no possibility that you're not going to find it if you will accept that negative emotion means you're cold and moving away from it, and positive emotion means you're warmer, 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 warmer. This is the game. This is the emotional game that you're playing. And so if it's confusing, it's only because you're trying to introduce too much to the conversation all at once. Get more singular and specific in what you're asking about, and you'll feel it vividly, you see.